Ladies and gentlemen, we are now back with the showdown between Norsca, who shall be led by Wulfric the Wanderer atop his mighty Mammoth, and the Greenskins, who are going to be led by Grimgor Ironhide. And I don't know what's going on with Grimgor, but the past 3 or 4 games I've played against Greenskins, it seems like everyone is bringing Mr. Ironhide. I don't know if there's been some sort of like a shadow buff, or there's something I'm missing out on, but anyways, it's going to be Grimgor Ironhide for the Greenskins. And let's go ahead and take a look at the army. So for my front line, I do have a combination of the Marauder champions and the standard Marauder. So it's going to be 3 champions, 2 Marauders. And the standard champions are just so damn good in this matchup because they have really high armor as far as Norskins go. So they're going to be able to endure against Savage Orcs, Biggins, Goblins, all that sort of stuff, even through the Wa. And on top of that, they have really good damage output. They have 39 weapon strength, pretty good melee attack at 36, and incredible melee defense at 53. So essentially, the Marauder champions are going to be able to beat all of the Greenskin infantry with the exception of Black Orcs. Now then, if they do go with Black Orcs or have a couple of groups of Black Orcs, you're going to be able to counter that with the Famir. So the Famir warriors have a beautiful synergy with the champions and Marauders in general. So firstly, these beasts do have really good armor piercing themselves. So just on a standalone with that, they're going to be pretty good against Black Orcs. But more importantly, they have this really nice ability, just sundered armor, I guess. It's not called anything cool like, bludgeon maces, whatever. It's just sundered armor. And it's going to be lowering armor by 30. So if they do hit the Black Orcs, it's going to put them down to 80 armor, therefore making your Marauders and your champions much more effective. And these guys are pretty tough for the Greenskins to take out. Greenskins do have some problems with big armored targets. They do have Rusty Arrows and a couple other tools for that. And, but for the most part, I think that, big monsters are pretty good against Greenskins. So yeah, 2 Famir in the back. We do have a Deathcaster as well. He's going to be on foot. He's got Spirit Leech, Soul Blight, which again synergizes even further with your Marauder champions, lowering the armor and, melee attack or I think weapon damage of the target. Let's go ahead and double check here. Man, this guy's so cool. Look at his hood here. So yeah, it's going to be lowering armor and weapon damage. So always pretty good. On top of that, we do have the big old Wulfric the Wanderer on his Mammoth, so he's going to be just riding dirty on this thing. And the Mammoth is, it's a little bit risky, because the Greenskins can bring FG of the Git, they can pin him down, they can focus fire him, but if you're a little bit careful with him, and just kind of work on the flanks and then work your way inwards once you collapse, he can do a ton of work and just terror out and just run through Black Orcs. So basically, that's just the thing, right? Your front line is going to be able to deal with most things aside from Black Orcs, and your secondary line and your monsters deal with the Black Orcs. Out on the flanks, we're going to be going with some Teen Wolf action. So we have Skin Wolves and the Beasts of Tashnar are actually on the other side. So these are just Skin Wolves and Norscan Warhounds. And the same thing on the other side. So Skin Wolves trade pretty effectively with Orc Boy Biggins. They regenerate. And yeah, I just kind of like them as like a mobile flank unit. We do also have the Beasts of Tashnar, who are very, very good. Anti-large in these doggies. They're able to actually get in, fight Forest Goblin Spider Riders, Wolf Riders, chase more groups of Magi Marauders. They bring a ton of utility to the battlefield. So for my opponent's army, he's got the big old Arachnarok Spider. Going to be a little bit tricky. I don't have too much dedicated anti-large, but still Famir and the Mammoth should be able to help out, and the Skin Wolves, but they don't have the best AP, so it's a little bit of a toss-up there. Savage Orcs in the front line, mix him with some Goblins. He does have the Night Goblin Shaman, and this is definitely the hipster Greenskin thing to do right now, is to use the Vindictive Glare to just blast enemy lords and casters. Very, very powerful. I definitely would do it. Top of that, we got Grimgor Ironhide, the Rusty Arrows in the back, and not too many archers. I think he has mostly mobile archers. So he does have Rusty Arrows, Wargrips, Magi Marauders, Forest Goblin Spider Riders over here on the flank, and it looks like we already do have a battle. In the back, a couple Black Orcs who are going to be a little bit tough to kill. They will pound my infantry, so I need to be effective and make sure I get my Famir and AP on those guys. So I think on that note, guys, let's get this show on the road and see how it goes. So over here on the flank, we do have a battle right out of the gates. The Werewolves and the Beasts of Tashnar are going to be jumping on these Forest Goblin Spider Riders, so pretty good little engagement for me, but I am getting attacked by the Moon Howlers as well, and some Savage Orcs, so it's a little bit scary, and realizing this was going to be a lot of pressure, and I didn't want to lose all these troops, I'm going to be sending over some Marauder champions to help out, who should be able to beat down the Savage Orcs. Now, the first charge of the Mammoth is going to be coming in with the Famir, so we're getting a bit of a timing charge right on top of these Black Orcs. I'm just like waiting for the Mammoth to get in so I can give you guys a slow-mo charge. So here comes the Mammoth, going to be getting in there, and yeah, he's going to be tusking some of those guys, and the Wa has gone down from the Greenskin, so the entire engagement's underway here. The big old Spider has engaged here in the back line, fighting these Famir, and the Spider's a pretty good counter against Famir. And you can see there, the Vindictive Glare is going to be going down on top of Wulfric, but it doesn't do too much damage against armor. It probably would be better used against my caster, who is very lightly armored. On the far side of the battlefield, we do have another kind of mobile fight. These Skin Wolves were able to beat down these Forest Goblin Spider Riders, but my opponent did get the upper hand right there. He had a very good exchange, had some Savage Orcs follow up, plus some Overwatch fire from the Morgans Magi Marauders, and he was able to defeat my Skin Wolves as well as the doggies I have over there. But the mainline fight's going pretty well. We were able to crumble the Savage Orcs with our champions and some of the Famir, and of course Wulfric has just done a number, just beating down these Black Orcs. And from here, these Werewolves who were able to win this flank engagement are going to be piling in and just going after the Black Orcs, and should be able to tear those guys to shred and get some pretty good damage on them. So this fight is pretty pitched up here. We do have the Famir actually getting terrified away by the Arachnarok Spider. Grimgor, of course, is helping out here. He's going to be chopping down with his big old cleaver. And the one good thing about Grimgor is that if you're not in a matchup in which you have to worry about him being sniped super hard, now, I could have tried to snipe him maybe with Wulfric, Hunter of Champions, spamming Spirit Leech, but if he's able to stay and fight in the pits and just kind of grind it out, he's going to give you more Was on average than other characters. So, for example, if you have like Wurzog or Azag, Grimgor's going to be fighting like the whole time unless he's being kited. So you're going to get a couple more Was, probably, I would imagine, so that is kind of his niche. So realizing I was losing this battle up here, I send the Marauder, not Marauder Champions, but I send the Spiders, Yeah, damn it, I don't have any spiders. I send the Beast of Tashnar as well as the Skin Wolves up here to help out a little bit. And the Famir are going to butter up the armor of the Arachnarop, but it still has 120, which is pretty insane. But sending all of my armor piercing and all my big threats over here because I figured that Wulfric is going to be able to handle the infantry blocks here. So Wulfric getting in there with his big old mammoth, just cleaving some of the Black Orcs and Savage Orcs, should be able to tear out the Savage Orcs. But he's got some missiles kind of shooting at me. So the Rusty Air is back here still online. Morgoth's Managing Marauders doing a good job, so I am going to be flowing over here now. Savage Orcs are rushing to intercept my Marauders, which is a good engagement for them. But I have champions coming in. My Deathcasters getting in there as well. And I feel like they should be able to overwhelm this position. So if we look at the battlefield, you can see there are some skirmishers just kind of kiting my poor doggos. But the doggos are going to be rushing in. I decide to send the Skin Wolves after the archers because they can't kite me. And the dogs after the Morgoth's Managing Marauders. A little bit of a more cost-effective situation in my opinion. And these goblins definitely going to be meeting the ends at the claws of these werewolves here, and the Skin Wolves is regenerating, and they're one of those units that really have that good longevity. You'll notice that if they take a beating in the beginning but survive, they can kind of creep the balance of power back up in your favor as the game does go on. So we are able to temporarily shut those guys down, and the dogs are going to be able to fend off those elite units there, which is good. Good play for my opponent though, finding some loose Savage Orcs on the flanks and just pulling them in to help with the Skin Wolves. Savage Orcs will trade very effectively, and a very nice wall going down right there. So yeah, these Skin Wolves are going to probably be losing a couple models against each charge of these Savage Orcs who have a very good charge bonus. Now back in the main fight, my Deathcaster and the Marauders and the other troops here are able to grind down the Savage Orcs, so the Savage Orcs are going to be losing this engagement to the angry Norscan boys. So yeah, you can see those guys are going to be running for the hills. Right over here we have the Marauder champions. They're going to be fighting against Black Orcs, and the Black Orcs obviously have the advantage here, but simply because of numbers and the fact that I have them surrounded, I should be able to win that. And this is really the pitched fight. The Spider, like I said, is just kind of holding on, but Wulfric's finally coming in. I used him to kind of snipe out the caster, and now we have some just straight up Godzilla, Mothra, whatever. What, King Gamora? I think that's the other one. Is there a spider in Godzilla? I can't really remember if there's like a big spider beast. I know there's like a moth, there's a Hydra, there's of course Godzilla, there's Mecha Godzilla, but yeah, I can't really remember if there's like a spider one. I don't think there was, but anyways. So Ragnarok Queen's going to be taking a beating from Wulfric. I mean, yes, the Mammoth isn't meant for fighting other monsters, but it still has 525 weapon strength, a lot more than the Spider, and of course it's rode by the Great Wulfric, so he does have some decent abilities there, like Fight or Die. Now he's going to be coming in to help out with Grimgor, so Grimgor is going to be fighting here in the pits with the Famir, and he's been holding on pretty well. I'm actually relatively impressed with Grimgor's performance this game. Granted, I just think objectively it's always better to bring Azag simply because, or Azag or Wurzog. Wurzog is going to be buffing your whole army just with his Bone with Staff, and his magic is pretty good. But, Grimoire, I guess, he does get more of a niche now simply because of how good Vindictive Glare is, so it does open up other Lord options. You don't necessarily have to use Azag or Wurzog as your casters. You could use, like, Grimgor or, like, someone else like a Night Goblin War Boss or an Orc War Boss or something on his Wyvern, however you say that, I always get that one wrong. But yeah, because of the Night Goblin Shaman, maybe it does open up a bit of a niche for Grimgor. So Grimgor here is going to be getting surrounded. Wulfric up on the Mammoth, able to manhandle him, because Grimgor is, I think he's infantry size, which is weird. He should, I don't know, I guess being large could be punishing for him, but he's only infantry size. So the bonus for his infantry on the Mammoth is going to help out, and the Famir should be able to kind of chase him down and butter his bread. Over here we do have the Arachnarok Spider who's going to keep fighting. It has about 1500 HP, give or take. But from here we should be able to just kind of brute force it down. And the Skin Wolf still can put out some pretty decent damage. Like I said, they don't have the best AP. I think they have like 55 weapon strength overall. It looks like they're poison right now. So I think it's actually like close to 60, 62. And yeah, I mean, like probably like 20 of that is going to be armored piercing, but that can still add up, especially with the support of Wulfric and some of the other troops. So well played to my opponent. That's going to be all she wrote for now. Definitely, I like the build. I thought it was pretty good. The champions were really, really good. 42, 66, 61. Not like the best kills in the world, but they were fighting a pretty heavy-duty Greenskin infantry corps of Savage Orcs and Black Orcs and things like that. They held up pretty well with the support of the Famir, and were able to kind of grind out that frontline fight. I felt like I won most of the frontline engagements by just sending the champions and Marauders to fight the Savage Orcs, and then using the Famir and Wulfric on his Mammoth to just kind of isolate and go after the Black Orcs. One group still did get 73 kills, which is really good, despite the pressure that I did put on them, but I think that Wulfric was really, pretty damn good with the Famir Warriors. And if you want to go with like Throg's pretty good in this matchup as well, or just Wulfric on a horse, you simply just get another group of Famir, and it kind of makes up for the lack of the big Mammoth pressure. Also, I think that Feral Mammoths can be pretty good in this matchup. Granted, they do take a lot of damage from Goblin Archers and stuff, but they're very cheap, so there is an argument to be made for going with Feral Mammoths. Norsca has a bunch of different builds against Greenskins, but yeah, Wulfric's definitely, pretty beastly here. So the Shaman Sorcerer, I thought he was good. Infantry line held. Skin Wolves did pretty good on the flanks. My opponent did a really good job overwhelming that one flank. He was able to get the missile overwatch, get some Savage Orcs in, pinning me down with the poison of the Forest Goblin Spider Riders. That was definitely quite solid. But the Skin Wolves, especially the ones with the Beast of Tashnar, did really good, and they were able to collapse. And I think that Skin Wolves are kind of an underrated unit. A lot of people like to just hyper-focus on Famir and those, like, just big old thick mammoths. But for the most part, I think Skin Wolves actually are a decent unit, which I overlooked as well. Even if you guys go back and watch my Norscan guide, I kind of don't give them the credit they deserve, but yeah, I do like them quite a bit. And yeah, my opponent's build was solid. I mean, I think Grimgor is always a bit of a hindrance. The Vindictive Glare, even still, you can get Wurzog, you can get a Night Goblin Shaman, you can just get like 2 spells on Wurzog, right? You get like Fist of Gork and there we go, and then just get the Goblin Blast. and you're still going to be able to get it. But I think my opponent certainly should have used the Night Goblin Shaman to snipe out my Deathcaster. I did get about 4 or 5 Spirit Leeches off in that game, so I think had he used that on the Deathcaster, he probably could have popped him in like 1 or 2 shots potentially, and just chase him off like the Moon Howlers or something like that. So I think that would have been pretty good. Aside from that, I'm trying to think. The Arachnarok Spider, I mean, Norsca does have some pretty good, and a lot of times they do bring Familiar with Great Weapons or the Miststalkers, so they have some pretty good answers against the Spider, but there's a lot of different builds Greenskins can do. Honestly, I would change the leadership probably. I would probably opt to get a couple more missile units. I do like Black Orcs in the front line despite the Familiar. They just, have good AP. They can actually do damage against Familiar, and they do anchor, and if you have some missile support, I think they can do a pretty good job. But anyways, very well played to my opponent, Von Modi. It was a very fun game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Norsca versus Greenskin showdown, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.